My name is Elena Semino. I'm a professor of linguistics at the University of Lancaster, and I direct the Center for Corpus Approaches to Social Science, which is the sponsor of today's event. I should join everyone else in thanking the organizers. This has been a fantastic experience for me. It's not my usual crowd, but I can think of linguistic and discourse problems every time I listen to one of your presentations. But what we're here to do now, and I hope you've all had some wine and some refreshments, is to talk about a new book and new journals by Global Century Press. So we have several speakers. They have 3 minutes each, and I am tempted to chair quite ruthlessly, which is in my nature anyway, because this is what's separating us from dinner. So if you are speaking, bear that in mind, that people will be less merciful than they normally would. Okay, so those of you who were here earlier, so we have 2 people who are going to talk about the book as reviewers. I hope you guys are here. Dr. Boyi. Yes, oh yes, come along. 3 minutes for you too.
Thank you, Professor. I think after one long day of having this conference, everybody already have a good idea of the relationship between China and the study of China, its cultural history, and the global governance, or some idea of it. So I'm going to save you a lot of time by highlighting some of the points that are by reading Martin Albrow's book, China and the Shared Future in Exploring Common Values and Goals. Some of those ideas that I find very, very illuminating. So, looking into the post-pandemic world, a stored globalization battled by resurgent nationalism on global scale, ironically, an international order edging back to a game of great powers 19th century style, or worse, the Cold War 20th century style. A renewed hope for governance protocols for tackling global challenges like climate change, poverty and biocultural diversity. A hyper-networked digital platform posing questions to our pillar understandings of modernity as institutions of human worth, democracy and choose. So what would Max Weber made of the 2020s in terms of the theoretical question that he adventured and explored in early 20th century? And I think that's the most striking question that Martin Albrow showed in his book, and that just keep me hooked into that book and keep reading chapters by chapters. And my general feeling is that when you look at the table of the contents, the chapters are made of very, very loose, connected themes from Belt and Road to globalization to Martin Albrow's own intellectual journey with Max Weber. But somehow, when I read some key quotes, many of the readings, by the way, read a bit more like the novel of Marcel Proust. Sorry, I exposed my private reading. So it's very experiential in the sense that you're almost unready to take the very striking points, very insightful points, just on the second that you stick with the book. So I'm going to share with you 1 or 2, give it my digital background. So when I read this quote, it was a threat of nuclear holocaust, and that signaled the end of modern age and its displacement by the golden age. And now it's the turn for the golden age to be replaced by the digital age. But it's so easy to slip through, and with such a big claim. And I have to stay on the page for minutes and minutes to try to work out what Professor Albrow is meaning by there. And then he went on, pointing out, in the case of globalizations identified here, this is not globalism. This is global governance in practice. And suddenly, you can see my struggle. We travel from the definition, the concept of modern age to digital age, and then there's a difference between globalism and global governance in practice. That just put me in a very, very exciting mode of thinking through all the topics and points and amazing arguments made by our panels today. And my understanding is that maybe an idea form like globalization, or what could be the normative best practice, is not the best way to tackle the kind of global challenges ranging from digital misinformation or digital virus or physical virus, whatever, and to climate change. Because we have to put all the things, good ideas, different understandings into practice and put the global governance into the actions, because actions will be conducive to understandings. And then we will think about what globalism will mean in the new age. And it probably be, in that sense, it probably be less fruitful to stay with the theorization and roots of what globalization is and how it took place, and whether we should keep the good benefits of that and try to avoid the next one. It's probably time to rethink in a grandeur scale, like Martin Albrow showed us, to really follow the steps of, theoretical steps of Max Weber, to follow the way we rationalize ourselves, and also, more importantly, the pragmatism that all the nations, countries, no matter how different they are, all having in common, the pragmatic spirit of putting things into actions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. And then another reaction response to the book by Dr. Xiangqun.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to provide a book review, Professor Chang. Thank you, Boyi, for covering some theoretical ground already. I'm going to make 3 points, hopefully fit into 3 minutes. First point, the innovativeness of the book lies in the approach to bridging purely academic inquiry with theme-oriented work addressing contemporary social issues. The book reflects Albrow's deep knowledge of and rich experience in public affairs and compassionate politics. Albrow draws his inspiration from Max Weber's study of religion, nationalism, power, and the market for understanding the relationship between multiculturalism and globalization. This firm belief in diversity leads the author's credence in global governance to safeguard a human future. This new global governance will need to be open and inclusive, containing elements from both left and right ideology, from communitarian and cosmopolitan ethics, depending on the current configuration of geopolitics and the means of mobilizing support. The second unique feature of the book is that shows Albrow has studied and practiced shared human values, through his academic endeavor to engage with both West and Chinese scholarship. Albrow views China's rise as coupled with the desire to ride the tides of Western globalization for its own benefit while maintaining continuity with its own ancient culture. So to Albrow, this differs China from Western-inspired models of governance. The success of China is therefore built upon the adaptation and assimilation of both Marxism and Western economics and the social sciences into its own culture tradition. Therefore, the future development of China is on the spirit of finding common goals and shared projects with other nations. Underpinning this book is transculturality as an effective theoretical and methodological tool for the study of globalization as a contested discourse and a master narrative. The merit of transculturality lies in the belief in shared values and a common interest among humanity without suggesting domination or supremacy. Albrow proposed by practicing transculturality, governmental or non-governmental agency make a contribution to a developing common discourse, reinterprets for domestic audiences, and returns to take the dialogue forward. So it is obvious that Albrow has practiced transculturality in compiling this book. The book contains co-authored articles by Albrow with Chinese scholars, speeches delivered to Chinese audiences, and a panel discussion between him and other international scholars. For that reason, this book cannot be read as a conventional academic textbook or a monograph focusing on specialized subject. Instead, this book could be viewed as a map of a journey that takes readers on a Weberian quest for the search of the meaning of Chinese culture and modernity. Much of the book reads as a conversation resembling the many dialogues taking place between Albrow and his scholarly friends along this journey. Thank you very much.